Olá, depois de um razoável intervalo devido a uma gripe pacote completo, com tosse, dor de garganta, febre, enfim, tudo isso, estamos de volta ao nosso canal História em Movimento. Tratando ainda do tema Os 10 anos do 11 de setembro de 2001, e com mais um material que foi ao ar na Globo News no dia 25 de agosto deste ano de 2011, e material esse que tem como foco essencial os impactos do 11 de setembro sobre a comunidade muçulmana norte-americana. Esses norte-americanos de ascendência árabe, de religião muçulmana, que sofreram um intenso processo de preconceito, até como desdobramento da própria doutrina de guerra ao terror, enfim, de todo o contexto dos atentados de 11 de setembro. Veremos depoimentos realmente muito interessantes e muito tocantes de membros dessa comunidade no contexto do desdobramento desse fato marcante que neste ano lembra os seus 10 anos. Vamos então à primeira parte do material.
I was parking, and Bay Ridge has a lot of people along Fifth Avenue, and where I parked was near a mosque. There was a Muslim woman that was wearing the sort of veil where you cover your face, and she was walking with her children. She had like 4 or 5 children, and I remember sitting in my car and I was looking at her and I was like, wow, she must really be oppressed. I remember I stopped in my seat, and I was just thinking it. It wasn't something I had verbalized. And I stopped and I really had to take in that moment. I was like, why in the world did you jump to that conclusion? And why would you think that? How do you know that she's oppressed? Maybe she's perfectly fine the way she is and she's happy that way. But at that moment, it's when I realized that, I view my community through the American lens. And I view myself through that lens too.
Ninguém sabe quantos muçulmanos vivem nos Estados Unidos. O censo não pergunta a religião. Seriam 2,5 milhões, segundo algumas pesquisas, ou 8 milhões, segundo associações islâmicas. De qualquer forma, não chegariam a 3% da população, mas a atenção dada a eles é desproporcional desde o 11 de setembro. Americanos de origem muçulmana e estrangeiros chegados dos 14 países de maioria islâmica que estão na lista negra do governo americano passaram a ser vistos com desconfiança. Muitos foram presos e perseguidos, sem provas. Alguns passaram muitos anos encarcerados. 10 anos depois, o que mudou na vida dos muçulmanos americanos e dos que vieram de outros países e abraçaram a América como a terra para viver? E a morte de Bin Laden aliviou o estigma, o preconceito que eles sofrem, ou têm a sensação de sofrer? Estas são perguntas do terceiro Sem Fronteiras especial sobre o 11 de setembro. O imã Shamsi Ali, da Grande Mesquita de Nova York, nasceu na Indonésia, o maior país muçulmano do mundo. Lá, as madraças são escolas onde se ensinam todas as matérias normalmente. Não são escolas islâmicas, ao estilo da Ásia Central e do Oriente Médio. Depois, Ali se mudou para o Paquistão. Só então sua percepção do Ocidente mudou.
Imagine in the 90s in Pakistan, when Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, that is a time when some Muslims feel that this is a grand design of Western nation to colonize Muslim world. So we have a kind of that mindset that Western people and non-Muslim don't like us. So that's 7 years in Pakistan. And then after that I went to Saudi Arabia, a very exclusive society. Again, it contributes into my misunderstanding about the Western nations. And towards the end of 1995, I came to this country as a student, and at the same time I was working at the United Nations. My neighbor was a Greek Catholic person, and he was just a wonderful individual. So every morning he came out from his door and shook my hand and introduced himself and, hugged my kids. So we feel that this is a Catholic Christian person, but he's such a wonderful person. So that basically changed my minds about the non-Muslims.
Like that, debris on the ground. Shamsi Ali foi dos 2 imãs que o presidente Bush convidou para acompanhá-lo na visita ao Marco Zero no dia seguinte aos ataques.
And I was the person who said to him, Mr. President, would you go out to the public and tell the public that this has nothing to do with my religion and my community as Muslims. This has something to do with evil. Whoever did it is evil, okay, no matter who these people are. And I think he heard that. The following day he went to the Islamic Center in Washington, D.C., and he gave press conference. And exactly he said what I said to him.
Islam is peace. These terrorists don't represent peace. They represent evil and war. This is a great country. It's a great country because we share the same values of respect and dignity and human worth. And it is my honor to be meeting with leaders who feel just the same way I do. They're outraged, they're sad, they love America just as much as I do.
1948. Bush pretendia evitar que a discriminação sofrida por japoneses depois do ataque a Pearl Harbor na Segunda Guerra se repetisse com árabes e muçulmanos.
The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked.
No cotidiano não foi assim. As mesquitas passaram a ser consideradas abrigos de terroristas. O parlamentar republicano Peter King afirmou que 85% dos fiéis eram radicais. Um movimento xenófobo foi contra a construção de um centro islâmico nos arredores do Marco Zero. Em vários estados aconteceu a mesma coisa. Nas ruas puxavam o véu das mulheres. Estudantes se sentiram perseguidos nas escolas e houve discriminação no trabalho. Nem bem as torres caíram, o mal-estar contra os muçulmanos começou.
September 11 happened, it's really changed. I was in the city and I had to walk back to Queens. But in the middle of the way I grasped a town car, it's a taxi, and the driver was a Mexican. He didn't know that I am a Muslim, so he was cursing the Muslims. He didn't know I'm a Muslim. He was cursing the Muslims, he said every bad words about the Muslims, and I feel bad. I was sitting behind him, so I was just smiling, I try to be patient, don't talk, because I can feel the feelings of Americans, how they are angry because of the attack.
Depois dos atentados, a Prefeitura de Nova York começou a cadastrar os milhares de desaparecidos. As famílias foram convidadas a ir a um local para registrar os nomes. E foi lá que eu encontrei pela primeira vez Talat Hamdani, a mãe de Mohammed Salman Hamdani, que acabou se tornando o mártir e herói muçulmano de 11 de setembro. Esta é a fila mais triste de Nova York. Há 3 dias há uma multidão aqui no centro aberto pela prefeitura para o registro dos nomes. São parentes, amigos, que vêm dar parte do desaparecimento de alguém. Meu filho tem 23 anos, é médico. Ele foi para lá assim que a tragédia aconteceu ajudar no resgate. Ele ainda deve estar lá ajudando. Se alguém o viu, por favor, ligue. Reencontrei Talat Hamdani na casa para onde ela se mudou depois de constatada a morte de Salman e de seu corpo ter sido encontrado entre os escombros. Ela precisava recomeçar. Salman saiu de casa para trabalhar antes das torres caírem. Quando soube do ataque, se dirigiu para lá para ajudar e acabou sucumbindo.
We knew he would go there. That was him. If he would see a sick animal or somebody stranded on the road in an accident, or he would pull over and help.
Pouco depois da morte de Salman, o ato patriótico consagrou-o como herói, mas a dor de Talat, em pouco tempo, se somou à indignação. Um jornal levantou a suspeita de que o filho dela fosse um dos terroristas que planejaram o ataque e não um herói. Na defesa da honra, Talat levou o caso ao Congresso.
I wanted to go and give it to the hearing committee. You know, all the senators and, you know, Congress people who were there, to make them aware that this is what happened to my son, who was a very proud American and who was an NYPD cadet, and yet we had to go through this suspicion. Why?
Because he was...
Just because of his faith. Just because of his first name, Muhammad, nothing else. Nothing else.
And then there was this hearing with the first Muslim congressman, Keith Ellison.
Keith Ellison.
And he cried when he talked about your son, and he talked in Congress about
yes.
your son.
So the night before, I got a call from Congressman Keith Ellison, you know, himself. He said, "This is Congressman Keith Ellison, and is it okay if I mention your son's name?" I said, "That's fine." So, but when I went there, he really, you know, testified so eloquently, you know. It did justice to my son.
Along with Americans of all faiths, Muslim Americans rushed in to save and rescue victims of Al-Qaeda's terrorism. Let me close with a true story, but remember that it's only one of many American stories that could be told. Mohammed Salman Hamdani was a 23-year-old paramedic, a New York City police cadet, and Muslim American. He was one of those brave first responders who tragically lost his life in 9/11 terrorist attacks almost a decade ago. As the New York Times eulogized, he wanted to be seen as an all-American kid.
Don't have oxygen.
Mr. Hamdani bravely sacrificed his life to try to help others on 9/11. After the tragedy, some people tried to smear his character
That guy needs some oxygen. If someone can share it with him. 10-4. 6.
solely because of his Islamic faith. Some people spread false rumors and speculated that he was in league with the attackers because he was a Muslim. But it was only when his remains were identified that these lies were exposed. Mohammed Salman Hamdani was a fellow American who gave his life for other Americans. His life should not be identified as just a member of an ethnic group or just a member of a religion, but as an American who gave everything for his fellow Americans. Are you back?
Mr. Chairman.
And now do you think that there is less, a little less discrimination then?
Well, the damage is done.
Yeah.
The damage is done, you know. I mean, when I go into the classroom now, there are teenagers, 14, 15, 16 years old. So they came to discover about my tragedy, and I'm a Muslim this year. After the hearing, and especially after meeting President Obama. Because, you know, that was another milestone. That was a big statement. America is standing with the Muslims. You know, because all these years they have been inviting everybody, but you know, this was the first time, you know, a Muslim was invited, and it was very healing. You know, very healing. I don't have any more anger.
You have become an activist.
Unfortunately.
A fighter. Yeah.
But, you know, it says in the Quran, to oppress people and to be oppressed, they are both sins.